5, 4.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this session. I am extremely excited. We're going to be talking about cloud alliances, and just to give you a little bit of background, in my previous role, I actually built an ecosystem, and the majority of revenue that we drove came from cloud alliances. I made a ton of mistakes building that ecosystem, and I hope today's session is going to be helpful in kind of helping you figure this stuff out. Let's dive right in. By the way, feel free to add comments, ask questions, tell us where you're from. We were going to try to have a very interactive session. But starting out, Kyle, cloud alliances. Tell us, what are those?
Yeah, thanks for having us, Rob. Really excited for this conversation. We've got a couple people in our room also. Feel free to stop by and ask us questions after a little bit about Labra. But excited about what we're having a topic of discussion about today. Cloud alliances to me are they're evolving and growing every day still, but just being able to tap into the ecosystem of the cloud partners, whether it's a hyperscaler or the cloud consulting partners is a huge market, over 350 million. And they say that we've only tapped about 7% of that market. So the opportunity, is absolutely enormous. And being able to, go after that marketplace and, being able to sell into the market is key. So, over 100 of the companies that are in the marketplace today, several of them are absolutely enormous, and growing every day. So
yeah, massive market. Who would you say should partner with cloud providers? For whom does this make sense, and maybe for whom doesn't it make sense? Because I've seen a lot of people try to go after cloud providers, and I've personally gone after cloud providers that didn't make sense, wasted a lot of time and effort.
yeah, I think I think you've got to be prepared. I think anybody could really venture into this space and have success, but if you're going to just build it and think it will come to you, that's the wrong mentality to have. I think you really have to sit there and think through the process and how you want to, attack the market and have a playbook for success. You need to educate your salespeople in how cloud works versus the traditional marketplace. So, I think that's really how you would have to attack it and make a determination of whether you're a good fit for this market or not. But I really think that everybody should be at least approaching how they could go into this marketplace. If you're not, you're missing out on a huge set of the business compared to what the traditional businesses were doing.
Yeah, massive opportunity.
Yeah, and if I may jump in, right? So again, thanks for having this session, Rob, and excited to be here. So as we all know, that cloud consumption is growing, right? It is growing exponentially, and the whole industry is just getting started right now, right? There's still a massive opportunity to grow. And initially, companies have been focused more locally in the same geography, etc. But if you're a SaaS provider and you want to expand your geography and you want to partner up, right? This presents a good ecosystem. So we should not think about just partnering with a cloud provider, but then partnering with cloud provider partners as well, right? That's kind of like the many-to-many relationship that comes into picture, right? So it presents a massive opportunity. So everyone has to kind of see okay, are we a good fit? Are we a good partner to be in this ecosystem, as well as who are the other partners we want to build with, right? So there's a kind of preparation that needs to be done, but again, massive opportunity.
Yeah. Kai, go ahead.
Yeah. So Rob, I think there's really two things that are really important: is the size of the market, so the massive market availability, and also I think the speed to sale is also increased by cloud in the marketplace. So I think those are two of the biggest drivers of why you would want to get into it. Just to kind of circle back to that.
Yeah. What do people get wrong about this stuff? Because again, like I have failed, and I think there's a huge opportunity, and I've made so many mistakes. What are the biggest kind of mistakes and the misconceptions about how to make this work, how to partner with one of these big players?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think. Go ahead,
yeah.
Sri.
Yeah. So it's a different way of selling, right? So you cannot go and try to sell the old school way, right? You have to be prepared to co-sell with a cloud provider and their partners as well. So you have to change your how you're thinking about selling a little bit. You have to be ready to make sure that again, speed is a necessity, right? You have to be able to close deals faster, right? So you have to be prepared for all of this, all of your journey. And other thing to think about is again, as you're partnering with other providers as well, like you need to be able to transact with each other, right? So that's also an important journey, right? So it's more about preparation, and also every hyperscaler has a different way of doing things, so you kind of have to navigate it a little bit. And also the tool sets that we currently use in the market right now is still kind of solving the old school problems, but cloud commerce itself is evolving, right? So those are some of the challenges that we see. And the other challenges that we see is like, yes, you kind of build it and you're there, but it's not a one, and it's not like a done motion, right? You have to kind of care and feed for the motion, right? Your sales motion.
So yeah, I think that's what I've seen very often, right? I'm going to build something. I'm on some app exchange, and the magic will happen. I mean, if we think about that and like kind of talk a bit more about these misconceptions, like what are the first steps that people normally take to make this happen? To you have an integration. Like what is that approach, and what do people get wrong?
Yeah, so you had to be able to integrate with various cloud provider systems to be able to co-sell, right? So, for example, deal registration would be one, right? The other one would be like if you're trying to sell on marketplace integration would be another one, right? So, for partners who are just starting this journey, this is going to be a huge uplift, right? First of all, they're new to cloud, then they have to kind of do all of this work, right? And most people end up doing wrong in the first place, right? So then they had to relearn the whole relearn everything essentially, right? So so you had to kind of build for scale, right? Your product also has to be built for scale. You had to think about your consumption versus subscription offering, because that's kind of the way sales are, selling is changing, right? And also being able to how you want to list your products, for example, how you want to maybe co-list with other partners as well, right? So those are some of the steps to think about as we navigate the journey.
Yeah. So the other piece that I like to add to that is, where we see company ISVs being more successful and a cloud consulting practices being successful is their training practices. How are you educating your sales teams on, getting people to understand that they've got cloud consumption, committed to a cloud provider, and asking those questions of, hey, do you have a commitment to a cloud provider? Could you buy through marketplace? It's really educating the sales teams. The other is, we see a lot more people being successful if they have an alliance team that is really working with those cloud providers and building those playbooks for success. If you just try to build it and hope it will come, like we said before, it just doesn't work. You've got to really have a playbook and having a team to drive those alliance relationships, and tie it to your normal channel motion. Your normal channel motion is still there, but that alliance team working with your channel team can really build a lot of cohesiveness to be able to drive a lot to market a lot faster.
Let's talk a bit about playbooks, because I feel like we lack the playbooks, right? If you look at marketing, sales, everybody's got playbooks and the best practices that are well established. Like, what does a playbook for partnering with cloud players look like, or what should it look like? what are the most
I will
important?
tell you one of the biggest things that I will say is most important is understand the compensation plan for those cloud providers. Know that they've got revenue goals, but they also have MBOs and OKRs just like everybody else in the market. That you must know how those people are compensated and build your playbooks around that. That drives success and opportunities. The biggest piece that we can bring to that we look to get from is these cloud providers have huge ecosystems. How can we leverage their sales teams to bring us opportunities, right? That's what we all want. Smaller sales teams in our ecosystem, but we've got AWS, Azure, everybody else out selling for us, right? And the best way to do that is understand how they're compensated and build your playbooks around that. That's one of the biggest pieces I always start with.
Compensation and goals. I think that's such an important one because I keep talking about all the mistakes I made in the past, and it worked out in the end. But so that's interesting one. Do you see any differences between different cloud providers in terms of incentives and the things that drive them and their goals, or is it pretty much aligned, right? That you understand one and then the others are similar.
I think they're all pretty similar, overall, but every quarter they kind of change their goals though. They'll ML or AI will be an initiative for one. The other may be more, analytics based, so you kind of really have to pay attention, and you have to have a conversation with, district managers and other cloud, your partner development managers from each cloud provider to know what's changed. Like last month, they just started a new initiative at AWS for app modernization, and they started a new program there. I think the other big piece is knowing the funding capabilities of each cloud provider, making sure you stay intact with what packages are available to, fund projects. AWS, Azure, they all have funding programs that are absolutely phenomenal to help customers migrate. There's new ones for app modernization. There's also funding programs for your ISV products to be able to get those to market faster. So having those conversations, and that's where I really wanted to focus back on that alliance team, is very, very important, because that's where they can really dive in and create those programs to really accelerate those playbooks.
Do you see it? Yeah, Shri, go ahead.
And also, it's important to note, right? You have your cloud alliance team who's working with an ISV, right? But also, if you are starting to partner with other ISVs who have like complementing solutions, right? So it's better to win together, right? So you have to kind of develop your go-to-market plans along with your complementing partners. Use hyperscaler like sellers, to your advantage, and you also have to make sure like what is the value proposition that your solutions bring to the table, right? Buyers nowadays are not looking for just like a Lego block, right? They're looking for a whole pre-built solutions, right? So that's the other way to think about it. Work with other partners, build solutions together, go to market together, right? And let's all win together, right? That's kind of the mantra.
That's hard, right? Because I feel like, I've been in deals where they were like an ISV, an SI, we're an ISV.
Yeah.
Like it gets hard. Like how do you make that work? Because we made it work, but it is.
So that's one of the things that I've really loved about cloud versus the old traditional, reseller model that existed for years, and it was very, very competitive. Oh, they're my competitor. Well, now in the cloud, you actually see cloud consulting partners working together on the same deal because they bring different expertise to each area. So we've had deals with other partners that they may had expertise that we hadn't developed yet. That stuff happens every day in cloud, and that really drives adoption pretty quickly whenever you can start, but it brings the complexity of how do we work together? How do we share these opportunities? And, those are some of the things that Sri and Jay, our CTO, is really trying to solve with our company, is that co-selling, sharing opportunities, working together, delivering solutions via marketplace as a bundled solution. That is very difficult in marketplace today. You may build a solution for an app modernization project, but it's got 7 different products in it. How do you do that? That's 7 different marketplace offers. We're trying to solve that today, being able to make bundles and work with partners to be able to build those.
Like it, huh? I maybe talked a bit about mistakes, but I spend more time on mistakes. Maybe I'm German. I like to talk about failure. But I feel like we, because of the lack of playbooks, the lack of experience and references and success stories, like let's talk about the things a bit more about things that go wrong in these more complex situations. Or the things
I love this topic. So I will tell you, don't be afraid to fail. That's the biggest piece. Try it, but learn from it and learn quick. If you don't, you're going to get passed up pretty fast. So, there's nothing wrong with making a mistake. Just, learn from it and make a better decision next time. So,
and Rob, to add more complexity, right? This space is still evolving. Like, this is not a journey that has been completed, even on the cloud provider side, right? They are coming up with new programs as this space evolves, right? So that adds to the added complexity. But the other part I want to address is like other key mistakes is like having training programs, right, of new way of doing things, whether it's your sales, whether it's your marketing, whether it's your product, right? There needs to be a training program to kind of do this journey, right? The other part is like being able to iterate in a quick fashion. So instead of having a long 1 year like product cycle, right? So launch simple MVPs, right? Maybe build a joint solution, go to market with it, understand, drive engagement, understand the ROI of that sales motion, right? And then go to the next sales motion, right? So it's being able to do an iterative approach. So yes, it is complex, but there's also like terrific opportunity here.
I think that's a really big point that Sri just made. Alliance teams, and the hyperscalers love repeatability. Mm-hmm. They absolutely love solutions that they can take to a customer over and over again. Mm-hmm. If you can build something, whether it's on your own or it's maybe 3 or 4 vendors together, but you can take it to market over and over, sales teams love that, because then they can say, we've created a pipeline of deals, and you can take it to every customer that you have for this specific industry. Try to build as many of those as you possibly can.
I love that, because that's one of the things we did, right? Like, we identified certain pain points, that recurring pain points. We developed like a solution, initially very focused. And I like what you said, Sri, that this is still evolving. And what we very often did, we looked at what these cloud providers were doing, and there were certain verticals and areas where there was a lot of competition with other people trying to partner, etc. And we tried to find a white space that, of course, made sense for us as well. And that's where we established ourselves, and then step by step we developed a solution to, I don't know, address the feature gap or make customers happier. And then we took that, and we took that story, and then went for one vertical and one country after the other, and that was really powerful, because I think when you deal with these complex big organizations, and you try to do everything at once, try to please everybody at once, you run into problems. Even what we've seen is like within the organization, within the divisions, you have different interests. You have sales and customer success, and very, very different objectives, and you need to figure out who to go for first, and then just don't try to boil your ocean.
Yeah,
true, absolutely.
And you bring up a good point, Rob. Like, instead of going wide, right, be hyper focused on something, right? Do one thing well, right? Repeat that motion, like, iterate on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we heard early on in our practice is, you know, the partners that aren't successful try to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And the partners that really focus are more successful. Know what's your good fit. Am I a good fit for enterprise?
Yeah.
That's up to, that kind of determines, or should I concentrate on the ISV vertical or digital native business because that really fits my playbooks that I've developed. So I always tell everybody, especially the newer people that are just joining into the cloud space, you got to walk before you run. Start with something small. Start with, I'm going to concentrate on greenfield SMB vertical. If you try to say, I'm going to go after enterprise, SMB, and startup vertical, all those different spaces together, you're probably going to fail and get really dejected quickly. So really try to focus on one area and be successful, and then try to find out how you can make it work into the next segment.
Yeah, I think what's also important is like find a segment and focus on one word that you've already nailed, right? Like I've seen a lot of people that like, oh, I want to get into the enterprise. I'm going to piggyback off, their reputation, etc., and that doesn't work. You have to nail it. You have to impress them. And I think you have several shots, but at the same time, you can't make mistakes. But there are a lot of other people trying to get these people like attention, and you do need to be very systematic about what you do, right? I like that. By the way, if I see people are already talking in the chat, throw your questions in there. I think we're pretty fast. I like it. I like to be efficient, but I may run out of questions. So any questions, throw them in there, and then I'm gonna throw them at Shri and Kyle. But I have another one. So in terms of like key insights, if you had to like give us one key insight that we should walk away from the session, what would it be?
So when you partner with either a cloud provider or your other partners, right? Sharing data or making sure that everyone has the same data, right, is very important. What I mean by data is like who are the customers you're targeting, how you're targeting, what does the good GTM motion look like, right? So it is having that shared data and tools to make sure like this journey is successful is very important. That is still lacking right now. It's still a evolving landscape. And
I think the other one that I really try to point out is, and I think it's because of our where we're at in our business with Labra, is I've seen a lot of great sessions before today on co-selling. You don't know how important it is to get on the radar of the hyperscalers. If you're not registering those opportunities in their co-sell portals in an efficient manner and sharing that data, you're not going to get the feedback from their side. So you have to put into it before you'll receive. So you've got to register those deals. It may seem like it's a pain. We can help you with that. We can automate it really nice for you.
Deregistration, that's always that's always a pain.
It's a pain, but it's a pain. But if you don't do it, you're never going to get those opportunities from the hyperscalers. They want to see you putting your investment in before they send it to you.
Yeah. So what I learned about like a lot of these processes, I think there are certain processes you just have to follow. Like you have to properly submit leads, etc. But then what we started to think about is like what else can we do, right? You submit a lead, but then we started to like figure out how do we if we submitted a great lead, how can we make sure that everybody knows about it, right? We want a deal, right? Like we may just register that, or we might just create a success story. So I'm very passionate personally, and I'm biased to my background, what we do at Superglue, but I think communication is so important, right? Like and very often, like you kind of mentioned it when you talked about the build it and they will come. like relationship
I
building?
think I have one item that I would like to add as
Yeah.
probably the most important thing that helped us grow our business, MRR wise, was win wires. When you have a win, build those win wires for the internal to go to the cloud providers, because your PDM, your partner development manager at any of the cloud providers, then will post those internally to the hyperscalers.
Yes.
And that's whenever you start seeing the influx of incoming opportunities from AWS sellers. If you're not populating those wins, they won't know about them. They're not going to go to your website. They're too busy, but they will look at those win wires internally. So you have to, that is an absolute must, develop your win wires.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that's I can confirm that, right? It's what we saw, right? And then sometimes there will be those that almost go viral, right? Internally, a cool success story, and then all of a sudden you have people reaching out to you. You go from this push to a pull motion, where you create appeal and excitement, etc. So a little more time. I love to talk about.
I think the other thing that I like to push is, we just had a great podcast, but it was a voice of the customer podcast. It wasn't us speaking. It was our customers speaking about our platform. You don't know how valuable those are. We populated that inside our hyperscalers, all 3 hyperscalers, and they all saw it. Within that week of being released, we got probably 20 opportunities from that. The more you can populate a voice of a customer instead of yourself speaking about your solution, the more successful you're going to be.
I absolutely love that. It's something I have a lot of. We use that a lot as well, where we rather than us telling somebody how happy we made a customer, we actually ask the customer to tell our partner how happy we made them, and that just changes the dynamic. I absolutely agree with you, because it gives you credibility. And it's not what's normally done. That's the thing, right? There are these standard things you have to do, and then there's the other stuff that you can do to really drive excitement and stand out, because it's competitive. I mean, and it's not getting better, right? In terms of who wants to partner and do stuff. Huh? If there are there a couple of companies that you think are really good at all of this stuff? Like, if I had to, look at if I try to find a company that has really aced this, like, who would that be?
Yeah, I think there's a few that have really become, the bellwether for marketplace. You look at Snowflake. You look at some of these large companies that. But the other thing that they've done different is they became marketplace first companies. That is the platform of choice for contracting with their customers. So I think those are really good ones to be able to look at. There's several of them out there. Wiz, these guys have really dug in, but they've built really good teams around it. So
I would say that's a great point to kind of close this off, because I think it's teams, right? It's about people, and you talked about this, or you mentioned it. I think it's about tools, processes, but ultimately people. That's what I've realized very often, right? Like the right people for the right types of challenges really can do magical things.
Yep.
Yeah, I really do like what Cody just said. Don't get caught up in what it's making it look at me. You really have to be customer focused, and what am I helping drive business value for my customers? You don't think about your revenue. Your revenue will happen if you make your customers happy.
I totally agree. Well, that's it. Thank you so much. Great session. Let us know how can we stay in touch with you. How about you maybe you can share your LinkedIn profiles in here. Everybody, if you have questions, reach out to these guys. Let's continue.
It's just Kyle at ibexlabs.com or Kyle at labra.io. Either one works. You can find me at Kyle Heisner on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way. But would love to reach out. We also have another room that we're monitoring for the next 3 or 4 hours today, and be glad to have a conversation with you about our journey and how we help customers build playbooks and build those cloud alliances.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you.